Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on Syoklogi section. My name is Mai Fan from SMK Raja Perempuan, and I will be your moderator and speaker for this section. Before we get started, I would like to cover a few housekeeping items. Number one, this section is being recorded, and the recording will be shared with you after the section. Number two, your microphone will be muted throughout the section to minimize background noise. Number three, if you have any question during the presentation, please type them into the in-call messages or chat box. We will address as many questions as we can during the Q&A section at the end. Number four, we encourage you to engage with us on social media using the hashtag or emoji symbols. Without delay, we continue with the first section. Boys and girls, please refer to the worksheet. So question number one. The human blood type is determined by the presence of an antigen on the surface of the red blood cell. So complete the table below for blood type A, B, and O. So what is the antigen and antibody in blood group A, B, and O? So antigen found on red blood cell, AB blood type is A and B. And there is none antigen on red blood cells, O blood type. AB blood type has none antibody in blood serum. Compare with O blood type has antibody A and B in the blood serum. If you are correct for the above, the four sections, then you will get 2 marks. So actually, boys and girls, you can refer the Form 4 textbooks, page 185, to get the answer. So question A2, Mr. X has an accident and requires blood transfusion. Mr. X has type A blood. So based on table above, which individual from the above blood group can donate his blood to Mr. X? Justify your answer. So for this question, table 1 shows AB blood type and O blood type. So Mr. X has type A blood. O blood type is suitable to donate his blood to Mr. X because O blood type do not has any antigen on red blood cells, do not cause blood coagulate or agglutinate. And the last one is O blood type is universal donor. So in this question, you must write F1, there is a 1 mark, and then point number 1 to number 3, either one. Okay, based on just now the question, donations, a bit information about the donation. Donations and transfusions of blood is based on the compatibility of the blood group of the donor and the recipient. So this is because the recipient has antibodies in the blood serum that can act against the antigen on the red blood cell of the donor. Blood transfusion from a donor to a recipient must take into considerations the blood group type of the donor and the recipient. Okay, before we continue the question B1, so let us revise a bit research factor. Beside antigen A and antigen B on the surface of the human red blood cell, there is another antigen we call antigen D, so which is known as research factor. An individual whose red blood cells has research factor is said to be research positive, whereas an individual without the research factor is said to be research negative. Okay. Inheritance of research factor from the parents to children is based on principles of Mendel's law. Research factor is controlled by genes, which consists of a pair of alleles, namely research positive dominant and research negative recessive. Genotype of a research positive individual is either homozygotes dominant or heterozygotes. Research negative individual is homozygotes recessive. Okay, question B1. A research positive man marries a research negative woman as shown in diagram 1.1. Complete the schematic diagram. So you are given the question in the diagram. Okay, this question, genotype, research positive father is heterozygotes. Genotype, research negative mother is a homozygous recessive. So during the meiosis occurs, pairs of alleles of each parent will segregate. So from the father will produce gamete, research positive and research negative. The mother will produce the gamete, research negative. So during the fertilizations, gametes that carry research positive will be fertilized with gametes that carry research negative to produce offspring which carries genotype, research positive and research negative. And phenotype of child is research positive. So on the other hand, for gametes that carry research negative to produce offspring which contains genotype research negative, that is a homozygous allele, recessive allele, and the phenotype of child is research negative. So if you are completed these 3 parts, so you will manage to get 3 marks. Okay, question P2. Based on the diagram 1.1, suggest the spouse genotype to the individual with research negative to ensure that the children of the couple do not show the research negative. So if don't want to show the research negative, so normally the spouse must carry the research positive. That is a homozygotes dominant. So that's all for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Puan Ma, and good evening to everyone. Okay, I will be the second speaker for this session. Okay, so without further delaying, okay, I'm going to continue with my second question. Okay, so over here, before we get started, teacher want to give some tips for you to master inheritance topic. Okay, here we go. Understand all the terms related to inheritance is very important for you to cover this topic. Secondly, you need to know how to determine the genotypes and phenotypes when given any situational question. Thirdly, you need to be able to draw a schematic diagram according to the situation given. And the last one, you need to be able to interpret the schematic diagrams into the text. Okay, now we will attempt one question. Okay, come, let's go ahead. Okay, now we look at the question first. Okay, as students, you all having your handout, please refer to that. Diagram 2.1 shows the cross of a Magnolia grandiflora plant, purple flower, with a Magnolia grandiflora plant, white flower. And then the key concept over here, if you see, half of the offspring produced a purple flower, while the other half produce our white flowers. This is the key actually for you to answer this question. So I would suggest to the students, you may highlight this kind of sentences so that it will be a marker or something that will be helpful for you to answer the questions. So if you look at the first question, okay, you see we can have a look over here. Okay, the parental genotype is not given, and a part of the Punnett square where the gametes are not filled. So we can look at the question now. Okay, complete the diagram 2.1 by stating the parental genotype for purple flower plant and the gametes for white flower. It's a clear-cut question asking you to state the parental genotype for purple flower and also gametes for white plant. And 2 marks are given for this. Okay. Come, we have a look at the answer. Okay, now your answer for the parental genotype of the purple flower, it, okay, will be, okay, the combination gene which is heterozygous. This is why you are getting half purple and half white flower. Okay, because the other one we are having homozygous recessive. Okay, so over here you are having the pair of purple flower which is, okay, heterozygous being crossed with the white flower which is homozygous recessive. So the answer, it must be the combination of the gene, okay, combination of the allele, sorry, okay, for purple flower will be heterozygous, that is capital B and small b. Whereas for the gametes for white flower, since it's already given over there, you just need to pull out the answer where you have small b and small b. When you can state this, you will be given 2 marks. Okay, so teacher hope you understand. So all of you can attempt the first question. Okay, this one is a very basic one where all can give answers. Okay, now we proceed to the second part of the question, that is your B now. Okay, so now we look at the question. Based on the diagram 2.1, state Mendel's first law. Okay, so now based on the diagram given, you must state Mendel's first law. So your answer over here, you can see clearly when teacher explained the question that now you can see the alleles are being segregated during the formation of the gamete. And this should be your answer over here. For 1 mark, okay, you can give your answer as the flower characteristics of Magnolia grandiflora is controlled by a pair of alleles which are capital B and B, okay, small b. Okay, then if not, you can also give the answer as, okay, P2 can be considered as your answer. That is, only one of the allele pair is inherited in a gamete. This could be your answer, possible answer. Okay, so now we have a look at the next question. Okay, next question, if you see, we have a diagram of family pedigree chart. Okay, it's given for 2 generations, and this is basically a pedigree that shows when a normal man marries a carrier woman for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, DMD disease. Okay, this disease is actually caused by a recessive mutation on the X chromosome. Okay, so the normal allele is dominant T, capital T, while the allele for DMD is recessive, which is small t. It is indicated using small t. And if you look at this pedigree, when a normal man marries a carrier female, okay, the child, okay, the first one is normal female, and the second child shown over here, son with the disease, the third one normal male. Now we have a look at what is the question about. Okay, so if you have a look over here, the question asks you, state the probability of the couple to have a normal child, where you are given 1 mark. So over here, before you go further, you must come out with the genotype of the parents and the possible outcomes of the gamete. So if you look over here, teacher have sought out for you the parental genotype. Since the father is a normal person, okay, the genotype of the father will be X, okay, with capital T, Y, okay, and followed by, okay, the mother with the, okay, X, capital T, and X, small t, indicating she is a carrier. And then the gametes formed, you can see X with capital T, Y, and then X carrying capital T, and X carrying the recessive allele for the disease, which is the small t. And from here, you can observe that the offspring genotypes are, okay, the first one, X carrying the both dominant allele for normal. And then you have the second one, X carrying the dominant allele and recessive allele for the disease. Okay. And then you have over here X with dominant allele followed by Y. Okay. And then you have X with recessive allele followed by Y. Okay. If you see here, I can conclude that first is a normal girl. Second, she is a carrier girl. Third, he is a normal boy. And the fourth one, he is a disease person, son with the disease. So over here, they ask you to state the probability to have normal child. If you see normal child, 1 girl, 1 boy, so the probability is, okay, 2/4, which is 1/2 or 0.5 or 50%. This is how you get that 1 mark. So teacher think, okay, teacher assume that now you all understand how to come out with the answer. Even though it's 1 mark, you need to analyze the pedigree. Okay, let's move to the next one. Okay, over here, if you look at this question, okay, this question assesses the students by asking how a son of this couple inherits DMD disease. And they ask you to explain. 2 marks are given for this. If we have a look at the sample answer, okay, so the answer you can write as sperm which carries Y chromosome fertilize the ovum which carries X, okay, which is linked to the recessive allele, that is T, okay, thus forming the zygote which contain the genotype of X, small t, Y. So this indicates when the recessive allele is being carried on the X chromosome and the next, okay, chromosome is Y, it cannot really, how to say, support the X, so the person will become a diseased person. So this boy will inherit the disease from the parents. Okay, this is how you explain. And then if you have a look at the last question, teacher think for this one, okay, they ask you to give one similarity between inheritance in diagram 2.1 and diagram 2.2. So basically they are asking you what is the similarity between both inheritance in diagram 2.1 and 2.2. If you see the basic of this, okay, actually both of them are exhibiting the Mendel's first law. Both are monohybrid cross, both obey Mendel's first law, or if you want to give other answers such as both involving one characteristics, both involving two traits, or both obeys the law of segregation, all are accepted as the answer, the way of answering. Not all students will have the same way of writing, okay? But these are the answers which can be accepted for this part, okay? So I've done for my question today. Hope it will be helpful for you all. Enjoy the session. And now I would like to invite, okay, our third speaker, Cik Hafiza. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good evening everyone. So I'm the third presenter, Cik Hafiza. Okay, today I'm going to talk about inheritance albinism. So what is albinism? Albinism is come from the prefix albin, which means white, and the suffix ism, which means condition. So what is albinism? Albinism is a condition of lacking pigment in the skin, hair, and eyes, so resulting in white appearance. So that's why albinism, the appearance, the physical appearance or phenotypes of the albinism, which has a white appearance. So now what is albino? Albino is the individual who experience albinism. So albinism is the disease, albino is the individual who experience the albinism. Due to the gene mutation, so the pigment that responsible to produce pigments of skin, hair, and eyes does not produce in the albino individuals. So let's see the first questions. Diagram 1 shows the genetic pedigree of albinism in 3 generations. The allele for albinism is recessive to the normal allele. So the question given is a key, which the black reticular is for albino male, white rectangular for normal male, the dark circle here is for albino female, and the dark white here for normal female. So the key is important for you to identify the pedigree during essay. So in the first generation, you can see here there is 2 pair of husband and wife. First generation for male normal married with albino female. In the second generation, this pair have 3 offspring or 3 children, which is 2 for normal male and 1 for male normal. The second pair, husband and wife, albino male married with normal male, which form 1 normal female and 1 albino female. So next, this second generation, male normal married with normal female, and then their children has albino female and normal female, which is albino female represented by Miss X and normal females is represented by Miss Y. So if you have pedigree lineage, you need to write down each part, the diagram, the shape. You need to analyze the diagram so that you can do the essay part. Okay, the questions. Miss X is advised by the doctor to always wear long sleeve shirts and sunglasses when in areas exposed to sunlight. Justify the following benefits of the advice to wear long sleeve shirts and sunglasses. Why the skin color phenotype of Miss X and Miss Y is different even though they are twins. If the questions about justify, you need to write down the pro and cons of your opinions. Either you give the positive opinion or the negative opinion based on the question. So this question, you need to write down the positive opinion. So the sample answer, you have to able to justify the benefit of the advice of the doctor and why the skin color phenotype of Miss X and Miss Y is different even though they are twins. So the rubric C1 for advice, at least you have 1 advices, and for twins, at least you have 1 point. So for advice, there is 8 advice, there is 8 category in C1. You can write down the answer. So P1, you can say about albino. So what is albino? Albino is caused by gene mutation. And what does it mean by gene mutation for albino? So the gene undergo changing of nucleotide base sequence or base deletion. As we know, albino because of the base deletion or gene mutation in the delete. P3 have 2 recessive alleles or homozygous recessive. So the person who get albino will have the genotype albino in the homozygous recessive. So P4 until P8, the phenotype. P4, albino will produce less melanin pigments, so in the eyes, hair or skin. P6, why the albino must wear the long sleeve? Because the albino is very sensitive to sunlight and UV light. So why must wear the long sleeve? Because to avoid sunburn or skin cancer or skin complication. And why albino must wear the protective sunglasses? Because to protect their eyes or blurry vision or vision problem. Next, the twins have different phenotypes. Why? It is skin color phenotype. Why? Because they are fraternal twins. Sperm or ovum that carries dominant allele or recessive allele or vice versa fertilize with carries recessive allele or dominant allele or vice versa to produce homozygous recessive offspring, albino phenotype or heterozygous or homozygous dominant or normal phenotype. Here it means that how albino first female get, because the sperm ovum carry dominant allele for albino and ovum carry dominant allele for albino. So the offspring will get albino. So now how the other twins is normal, because otherwise the sperm has a normal person, the sperm is normal gene, and ovum carry the recessive allele for albino, so that the offspring will get the normal phenotype. Second question, Miss X is planning to get married. Suggest how Miss X is married can increase the chances to get a normal child. So now Miss X is albino. So now she wants to get a normal child. So there are 3 suggestions here. Suggestion 1 is she cannot marry to albino individual because both will produce gamete with recessive allele. Sperm carry recessive allele, fertilized with ovum carry recessive allele. So all offspring will albino, or probability for albino is 100%. Or you can draw a schematic diagram. So when you draw the schematic diagram, the key is important to write. Must write. So the key, if you know key, you win -1 marks. So the key here, you can represent albino for capital A for dominant gene or lower A for recessive gene. Then you can write down your schematic diagram, parents, phenotypes, genotypes, gamete and offsprings. Second suggestion, albino individual does not marry with albino carrier. So she cannot marry to albino carrier. Okay, because both partners can produce gamete with recessive allele. If gamete with recessive allele fertilize, so probability to having albino person is 50%. Otherwise, you can do by schematic diagram. So you can see, as you can see here, when albino is married to carrier, So the 50% offspring will albino, while 50% offspring will normal. Or suggestion 3, albino individual must marry to normal individual and has dominant homozygote allele. Produce gamete with dominant allele. So recessive allele gamete fertilized with dominant allele gamete, which produce 100% offspring are normal. Or you can draw schematic diagram when albino person married with normal person which carry genotype AA capital. So the offspring will 100% normal. Okay, it's about albino. So now we go to the second question about thalassemia. So this question I did because I want to teach you how to draw the schematic diagram. Okay. Here the question give you point. Thalassemia is genetic disease inherited by the offspring if both parents are thalassemia carriers or one of them is carrier while the other one is thalassemia or both parents are thalassemia. A thalassemia carrier man married to a thalassemia carrier woman. So by using inheritance schematic diagram, explain the inheritance of thalassemia among their offspring. So the first point you have to do is you have to do the key. So since this is thalassemia, so we represented by the capital T and lower T. So capital T for dominant allele or healthy or normal hemoglobin. Lower T represented by recessive allele for thalassemia. Then you have to draw the schematic diagram which has parents phenotype, parents genotype, meiosis, gametes, fertilization, offspring genotype and offspring phenotype. So this schematic diagram, if you write down parents phenotype, mother carrier and then cross father carrier, you got 1 mark. Parents genotype, heterozygous, parents genotype crossed by father carrier, so you got 1 mark. Meiosis must write in arrow. While gamete, you have to circle the gamete. So the candidate always forget to circle the gamete. Fertilization must use the straight line, not arrow. So the offspring genotype must write in homozygous dominant, heterozygous or homozygous recessive based on fertilization. Then don't forget to write the offspring phenotype. So now, how do you want to explain? So since the question about the thalassemia, so from this schematic diagram, we can see here there is 1/4 of phenotype is thalassemia. So you can say the probability of the offspring inheriting thalassemia is 1/4 or 25% or 0.25. Last questions. Could the inheritance of thalassemia be prevented in the next generation? Explain one of your prevention way. So now, how the person has thalassemia do not want the thalassemia is inherited to the next generation. So as we know, the thalassemia has 2 types. First is major and then second is minor. So now the simple answer. For the carrier individual or for the minor thalassemia, she or he only must marry to a normal individual. So when we do the schematic diagram, the probability of offspring will 100% born normal or 50% born as a carrier. So no inherited thalassemia occur there. Or if they are thalassemia individual, they will or they should only get married to normal individuals so that the probability of offspring is 100% born normal or 100% born as carrier, so that the thalassemia will not be inherited to the next offsprings. So that's all for today from me, and thank you.
Thank you, Madam Nohafiza, for the informative presentation. Thank you once again for joining us today. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event. Goodbye.